For the Air Force Association in Virginia, this is your AFA Daily Report.
USAF's Diversity Task Force is already making changes. The Department of the Air Force is tackling the issue of systemic racism in the same way as it does many others, by standing up a task force. The Diversity and Inclusion Task Force, created June 9, will look at how racial, ethnic, and other demographic disparities affect the Air Force and Space Force, USAF said in a July 8 release. A group of airmen from various demographic groups and at different ranks are mulling the policies, procedures, and various other barriers that keep minority airmen from advancing through the ranks and from feeling included in their units. Members are focusing on 5 areas: culture and policy, education, training, and testing, recruiting and accessions, workforce diversity, and aircrew diversity.
Report: Cost per effect is best way to compare weapons value. The Air Force should replace traditional metrics like cost per flying hour and unit price when calculating the cost of weapon systems with metrics that instead account for weapons efficiency and effectiveness. By focusing instead on cost per effect, a new study argues, the Air Force can better compare options for how best to invest in the future. AFA's Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies unveiled the paper, Building an Effective and Efficient Air Force, the Imperative for Cost per Effect Analysis at an online event July 8.
Okinawa troops create communication center for COVID-19 information. When COVID-19 became a threat in early 2020, U.S. military leaders in Okinawa quickly realized they needed a way to communicate and share resources among the services. Discussions began in January, and by late April, the Joint COVID-19 Response Center, or JCRC, was fully operational. Being out here in Okinawa, we're limited sometimes, especially if the supply chain is constrained, or with the travel restrictions. So with our services being able to work together, we can actually utilize our resources in a way that helps benefit the greater population of our U.S. forces, explained Captain Brandon Longstreet, the Air Force medical representative for the JCRC. Lord, COVID-19 highlights need for U.S. independence in manufacturing. The coronavirus pandemic has highlighted fragility within the defense industrial base and an over-reliance on Chinese manufacturers that present a security risk, prompting U.S. policymakers to look at potential changes. Without COVID-19, the Pentagon wouldn't be as aware of problems in its supply chain or of China's outsized impact, L&M Lord, Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment, said during a July 8 Brookings Institution event. Now we have interest in actually making sure that we understand the fragilities in our supply chain, and that we make sure we reshore as much as possible, and also have partners and allies supporting us wherever possible, Lord said.
Proposal to roll over some Pentagon funds could help save money. Texas Republican Representative Mac Thornberry hopes a small addition to fiscal 2021 defense legislation will make a big difference in how the Pentagon spends its money. The top Republican on the House Armed Services Committee argues Congress should let the military roll over as much as half of its annual operations and maintenance funding to the next year. O&M money, by far the Pentagon's biggest account, expires at the end of each fiscal year, prompting a scramble to spend the entire pot by September 30 every year. The Defense Department wants to spend nearly $290 billion on operations and maintenance in 2021, about $125 billion more than the next largest category of personnel. If Thornberry's proposal is implemented, the move could help the U.S. shrink defense spending over time.
Virtual events, Barry on Aerospace Nation, Esper and Milley at House Armed Services Committee, and more. Today, AFA's Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies will host Air Force Deputy Chief of Staff for Logistics, Engineering, and Force Protection Lieutenant General Warren Beatty on its Aerospace Nation series, which will tentatively be posted to the think tank's website and YouTube page. Additionally, Defense Secretary Mark Esper and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Army General Mark Milley will testify before the House Armed Services Committee, The American Council for Technology and Industry Advisory Council will host a free webinar on 5G, and the Aerospace Corporation will present a new episode of the Space Policy Show.
End of transmission.